Okay, this video is going to introduce you to the tree guide to trees of North America that you're going to be using in this course. But before I open up the book and take a look, I'm going to just make sure you are familiar with some terms. The first one is dealing with opposite leaves. Something that will be very helpful to you is to remember MAD, which stands for maple, ash, dogwood. Those are the trees that have opposite leaves. The buckeyes do too, but I'll show you an example that makes it very easy to identify the buckeyes. But for an opposite leaf, you have a twig. And then where the leaf nodes are, the leaves are directly across from each other, which makes them opposite. And the twigs are also opposite on those types of trees. And then we have alternate, and it's every other. Where you'll find the leaf nodes in the leaves and then on the twig. Okay, then we have our palmately compound, which I drew a hand to help you figure and remember what palmately compound. Just think of the palm of your hand, all your fingers kind of come out from a center point of your hand. That is the same for a palmately compound leaf. And the ones that we will come across that are palmately compound are the buckeyes. And then we have compound leaves, which are made up of several leaflets. You have a twig, and then from the leaf node, it will go up, which almost looks like another twig, but it's not. You'll have to notice and pay attention to the leaf node and the leaf scar. And then you have leaflets, and you'll have multiple leaflets. Now, it could be compound twice, and here's an example of what a twice compound leaf. An example of that would be the Kentucky coffee tree. An example of a compound leaf that we're going to see will be the ashes, the locust tree. And let me draw real quick to show you. There is some variability of what a compound leaf would look like. So I'm going to try to do this. You'll have a twig. Yep. Okay, then we have our leaflet, our leaf that comes out at the leaf node, which will be right here. And all right. So it can look a little different than the other one that I drew. And it's important to remember a lot of the trees, to be able to identify them, especially when you get to the hickories, will be to count the number of leaflets. Okay, so when the opposite of not having a compound would be having simple leaves. Simple leaves can be lobed, such as a maple, the oaks, a sweet gum are all examples of lobed. So right here we have, and it actually has kind of a depression on the leaf versus having a simple. Now we have on the simple leaves that are untoothed and toothed, what they have is the untoothed is just smooth along the edge. Okay, a dogwood is actually smooth along the edge. And then we have a toothed, which would be the wild cherry trees, or even a beech tree would be toothed. And they just have jagged edges, sometimes referred to as being serrated. Okay, and it's important to remember I showed these as kind of opposite, but or as alternate, but opposite leaves or trees with opposite leaves can also be lobed, untoothed, or toothed. The other description that you'll see in your book is with bristle. And that's something that you'll see with your oaks. And basically, you'll have, this one is an example of a lobe, but they have just little pointy edges at the end of the lobes. Okay, another example of that would be a holly tree that has a bristle tip. All right, so getting into the book that we have in the beginning of the book, there's a guide right off the bat which directs you to the colors, and those colors are what is at the top of your pages. And you can see it changes colors, and you can also see those colors at the side of the book. But we have needle-like leaves, scale-like leaves, the fan-shaped leaves, which are the ginkgos, and then we have opposite leaves, alternate compound leaves, alternate simple leaves, and then we have our palm, yucca, and the cacti. All right, so one of the keys that you'll remember when you're identifying the needle-like leaves is to count the number of needles per bundle, and you'll see that in your other video. The other key feature to remember when identifying needle-like leaves to identify the tree is to be able to measure the length. And I think, yes, this book, if you look at the front, that will go over the opposite, alternate, and the shape of the leaves that I just talked about. And it also has a ruler on the side in inches as well as centimeters. Okay. Then we go to our scale-like leaves after your needle-like leaves, which goes from a purplish color to a blue across the top. This is going to be what you're going to have to really pay attention to, is what it says here. Something to remember, the cedar tree is the only, right here we go, on page 147, Eastern Cedar Tree, is our only scale-like tree that we will be looking at here in our region that we're at. Okay, then we get into our trees with opposite leaves, and they have in the beginning of each section kind of a summary guide to help you out. But what you're going to really pay attention to is across the top on the bold green. It lets you know at the very top where the dark color is. It will let you know if it's opposite or if it's alternate. And then they start going into alternate compound. That's where you'll start, is looking at if the tree is opposite or alternate. Always ask your question or that question first whenever you get started. And then if you look down below that, there's kind of a shaded light green. Then you'll start looking at to see if the leaf is simple or compound. And what you're looking at right here is an example of a buckeye. The other feature that you're going to look at in your book to make sure that you're identifying the correct tree is they have a picture of the fruit. They actually have a picture of the tree as well as the bark to help you out and the flower. Each page has that. But they have the geographic distribution of the tree. Very important to remember. Okay. Now,